Good evening. I'd like to call this City Council Community Redevelopment Agency meeting to order. I'd like to defer to our city attorney to let us know what happened in closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council met in closed session beginning at 5:45 p.m. They discussed items A through C on the closed session agenda. Direction was given, no reportable action was taken on all items.
Thank you. This time I'd like to invite everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll have Ms. Loli Torres lead us off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take the whole letter.
Okay. This time I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda. Moved by Mr. Romero. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hurtado. Please vote.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
we would like to pull item number 17, sorry.
Okay.
17.
17, I believe also, if we were to rescind the motion by Mr. Romero, would you rescind, can we rescind the second by Councilman Hurtado?
Yes.
We're going to pull item 17?
Correct.
And I'd like to pull item 1. I think we have some discrepancies on that one. So we're going to vote, well, I'm sorry. Item 1 is a consent calendar. We don't have to pull it at this time. But we can pull item 17, and we can wait to pull item 1 on the consent.
Either way.
Either way, okay, let's pull it now. Okay, so item 1 from the consent and item 17 are to be pulled. And now I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Romero, second. Mr. Hurtado? Would you like to second
Second.
again? Okay. Please vote. And one more time, Mr. Hodge, you can figure it out. There it is, 5-0. Okay, we have some announcements and public comments at this time. Public comments are welcome. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. Please complete a speaker form prior to the start of the meeting. If the item you wish to comment on is a closed session item, please comment now. If the item you wish to comment on is a public portion of the agenda, we will take your comment when we get to that item on the agenda. And I have some here. I have Mr. Jong Kim.
Sorry, I got used to test the mic. Okay, I'm gonna be in the less than 3 minutes. My name is John Kim. My address is 803 Hardridge Street, Calexico, California, 92231. And reason I stand up here to start talking, we are very close by April. We almost 1 year anniversary of the earthquake in Calexico. And everybody knows already what's happening in Japan. An earthquake and tsunami destroyed several cities. And since we are under the sea level cities, a lot of people was worried about what if there comes the tsunami, if they open the south side of the Calexico open that, water comes into the city. And do we have evacuation plan? Which direction more closer or faster to evacuate the city? In case of that water comes into the city, our city is going to be under the water. So I believe we have to have some emergency plan in case of tsunami comes in, we have to have some evacuation plan for the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Appreciate your comments. The next one is Rosie Fernandez. Hi.
Rosie Fernandez, I'm the Heffernan District President for the board. And the reason we're here today is the board members are here because as you came in, I hope you noticed the new ambulance that's out there sitting. This is one of the donations that the Heffernan District gave to the city. So we would welcome and we would really appreciate that if as you would go out and take a look at this new ambulance that it's here to serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Happy birthday, Mr. Castro.
Happy what? What is it?
Thank you, Ms. Fernandez and Heffernan Board. I'm sure that the city will get some great use out of that ambulance. Right, Mr. Chief Mercado? Most definitely. Thank you. And happy birthday, Mr. Castro.
Gracias.
You don't look a day over 49.
Happy birthday, Mr. Castro.
Next, we have, I believe that's on the agenda, if I'm not
Can
mistaken.
we go to consent?
No, I still have one here. No, it's on. We'll get to it when we get to the item on the agenda, and that is okay, and that one too. And is that a separate item? Is it on? Okay, so it doesn't have to do with the one that's number 11. Okay, Mr. Araujo.
¿Qué tal? Gracias.
Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, City Council members and staff, these folders that I just presented to you, there's information regarding our annual cleanup, which we'll be having on April 9th from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. As you know, this is a good time to bring out larger items to dispose of, and also at the same time continue eliminating illegal dumping. We're currently passing out flyers, and we'll be doing radio spots informing people of this free cleanup. Would also like to remind you of the bulky pickup program that residents have at no charge through Allied Waste. All residents have to do is give us a call. We'll go ahead and schedule the service for them free of charge. Bulky items can be sofas, chairs, mattresses, dishwashers, to name a few. We'll be happy to take them from you, the public, for free. Just give us a call, we'll take care of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Araujo. Okay. And I have Ms. Loli Torres. Oh, you want to address it? Okay. It's the water bill, yes, ma'am.
Okay, Loli Torres, 46 Las Flores, Calexico. It's just a concern that I have, and I just was wondering if I could get an answer somewhere, somehow. The water bill, the data. It started, at first I was told that the water meter guy was sick, and that's why we weren't getting the data. But I noticed last week the water meter guy was out there. So what I don't want is, are we going to get a large bill when either the water department gets up to date as to how much water we really consume? Because we've been paying the same amount every month, almost for a year. And you know how the summertime you sometimes consume more when we have a pool? Am I going to get a bill later on? I don't want any surprises. That's my question, because there's no data on the water bill for this month.
Okay, maybe.
As to how much usage there is.
Well, thank you for your comments. Maybe we can direct staff to look into this for the next time. Okay. Okay, and that that's it for the public comments. If I missed anybody, I apologize. Now we have the general comments by the City Council and the RDA board members, and we'll start to my immediate left with Ms. Hurtado.
Just a couple of comments. This Saturday, I participated in the spring extravaganza at the Calexico Community Center for the American Cancer Society Relay for Life. Mr. Castro was there, and it was a really nice event, and they're getting prepared and fundraising for the April 9th actual relay event to be held at Crummett Park. And I want to thank them for having invited me to be guest speaker for that day. That was really nice. The other is a question, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
When will we be actually opening the application process for those organizations that want to sell fireworks?
I believe it was March 1st. March 1st to March 31st.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. The application period started March 1st and closes noon, March 31st. And it is a lengthy application, so I would suggest that anyone that is going to be submitting those, that they do get them in as soon as possible for review. In case there is any revisions that need to be made, they can have ample time to get those in.
Applications can be picked up at the fire department?
Online.
They're online. All the documents are online, downloadable and printable from home. If not, we can make some available. We did provide some to City Hall, and they may have a few copies left.
Thank you.
Okay. That it? Mr. Hodge.
Oh, nothing at this time.
Mr. Castro.
No comments.
Mr. Romero.
Yes, again, Heffernan was here, and there's still one rep here, Gloria Grijalva. Regarding the ambulance, I spoke to a couple of the paramedics, and they appear to be more comfortable with this unit than with the previous unit. And obviously, that's a huge benefit since it's less costly than the one that was purchased 2 years ago. And obviously more, you can interchange with the two components, the chassis and the medical cabinet. So that's very good news, and if necessary, maybe we can push for another one. Also to city manager, just an update regarding the joint session, if you had a meeting with the school district regarding the swing.
Yes, in fact, I talked to Mr. Frigali today, and we're going to be contacting you in reference to setting up a special joint session to deal specifically with that issue. And between now and then, we'll be putting together some numbers and so on.
Okay, because since there's going to be a tri-agency session, to please, keep the Heffernan also in zone.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. I had a chance to attend a New River Committee celebration of sorts with Mr. Hodge was there.
That's right.
We had writing contests, drawing contests with our students from Calexico Unified School District, and there was a lot of great essays that were written and a lot of great artwork, if you will, bringing an awareness to our students as to what their vision of the New River is. And this is something new and that the New River Committee came up with, and I'm glad that the outreach was there and that there were a lot of participants from all the schools in the city of Calexico. Also got word, a newsletter shared with Marita Hurtado about the $895 million Port of Entry monies that was voted down by the Grand Old Party House of Representatives today, and that really put a damper on a lot of things, a lot of the Port of Entry expansion specifically. And I challenge our staff to see what we can do to look at other avenues, maybe public-private partnerships, where we can, at least make an attempt to continue with the plan. If the plan is dead, oh well, but at the same time, that means longer wait times for the border. And another thing is no jobs for construction. So this is really going to affect Calexico and the Imperial Valley's economy as a whole. So I just hope that we can look at other ways to see how we can maybe augment and maybe perhaps keep the expansion in line.
We'll be calling our senators, what I understand it's the House vote.
The House
voted on this, so the Senate
House
still has to vote
Republicans.
on it. The House Republicans voted on this. I'll bite my tongue.
Grand Old Party.
But we still have the Senate side, and
Right.
hopefully the Senate will keep it in there and it'll go to compromise committee.
Okay. And I know our senators might vote along against what the Grand Ole Party had. Okay, thank you. Moving on, consent calendar number, item 1 was pulled. Is there anyone wanting to pull items 2 through 9?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Hodge.
I'd like to pull number 8.
Number 8. Okay.
And I'll pull number 9.
And number 9. Any other items? Is there a motion to approve 2 through 7?
So moved.
Moved by Romero, second.
Second.
Second by Hodge. Please vote. 5-0. Okay, item number 8, which is the approval of professional services agreement with Urban Futures for the administration of the redevelopment agency and any successor entity.
Okay. If you permit me to take the lead.
Sure.
This will be a little bit of an elaboration, Mr. Mayor, and probably I'll end up being the bad guy or maybe the good guy, however you perceive it to be. I've thought about this. To begin with, I strongly feel that an item like this, if I'm interpreting right, a personal business contract should not be an item put on the consent agenda, especially for this kind of money. I believe it deserves council discussion and public input. For me, I had some concerns, especially with all the uncertainties we face in these hard economic times. I don't feel comfortable voting yes on this item at this point in time. And furthermore, I don't really want to be, and I don't think anybody wants to be, whatever you may interpret it, to be part of the old Calexico politics where sometimes we rushed or where we act in denial or we just swept our problems under the rug. And I just believe that there's too many questions and areas of clarifications that need to be answered. We need a clearer picture on this situation about this contract. With all due respect with Marshall Lynn, extremely experienced and an expert in his field, I think that we just need to know, and when I say we, the city and the taxpayers, we need to know where are we going to get, what are we going to get in exchange for the $100,000 or more that we are going to pay Mr. Lynn? I mean, I believe the taxpayers have a right to know this. The city employees have a right to know this, especially with the possible upcoming layoffs. But the biggest reason why I want to say no tonight is because of the public's right to know. I'm very passionate about their right to know. They have a right to be informed, a right to participate. And again, I request to hold special public forums on the future of RDA, especially in the light of the state's audit report. We need public input on and why we might hire Mr. Lynn and the future of RDA and what the state audit was all about. The public has a right to know about this. We cannot believe, you cannot believe how many citizens in the last few days have approached me, how many business people have approached me and come up to me out on the street and asking me what's going on with the state audit report. So I think that we need to continue or even step up in respecting the public and include them in this whole process. So tonight, that's my long statement about why I will vote no on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. Anybody else have any comments before I ask some backup information from our city manager?
To begin with, the language in this, and I had similar concerns, Councilman Hodge, regarding this agreement. One of the things is that it's an estimated cost for the city as far as with the 100,000. Yeah. But the rate that is going to be paid to Urban Futures is at an hourly basis. So it may not even reach 100,000. It could be even half of that or some fraction. Now, one of the things is that from my position in this thing is that I do not agree with a three-year agreement. I do agree with a one-year agreement. Right now, with the transition that the Community Redevelopment Agency is going through, it's probably never more important to have the expertise from Urban Futures in how to either phase out or adjust in what the state's going to do. There's no doubt that the City of Calexico needs a consultant for this type of service. If we consider bringing anybody else in at this time, somebody still needs to become familiar with what the City of Calexico has done and what it still needs to do. Marshall Lynn has been familiar with the City of Calexico for quite a few years, and my position is that the one part that I don't agree with would be on the term of the agreement, because as you said, this thing could go away in about a year or less than a year. So we still need a direction how to close all issues that need to be closed if that's what the state is going to do. And there isn't a better person out there right now that would be available to the city except for Marshall Lynn to help us through this transition if that's what eventually happens. That's my point.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Mr. Rodriguez, could you elaborate, please, on this agreement, if in fact RDA may cease to exist after June 30?
Well, actually, there's obviously a real possibility that the vote on redevelopment will be taken tomorrow. Both houses have been summoned for a 1 o'clock convening to consider the bill by the governor's office, which would eliminate redevelopment agencies and would set it in a course to phase out. This agreement, what it tries to do is to beat the governor on that, whereby we would have a contract that specifically states that the costs will be borne solely by redevelopment agency tax increment funds. The current service agreement that we have does not say that, so this would actually allow us to, or at least make the argument if there's a phase out with the oversight committee, to be able to make the argument that we have a contract in place and therefore the funds should be coming out of RDA tax increment funds. Versus a potential of not having a contract in place, we still need the services, and then potentially it would have to come out as a general fund. So we're doing this to try to protect the city. Now, the other thing is that it's not an ironclad retainer type of contract. It says an amount not to exceed, and so therefore it's obviously discretionary upon us whether we use them, how much we use them, what we use them for. So we could spend absolutely nothing if we didn't want to use them. All this does is puts us in a position to be able to make the argument to use the money out of RDA versus the general fund. It also has a 30-day termination period that we could exercise at any particular time that we chose to exercise. Again, it's a not-to-exceed contract. It simply puts us in a better position to make the argument that the money should come out of RDA versus a potential that we do not have a contract in place, and therefore we have no argument with the Oversight Committee if they do eliminate RDAs to be able to pull the money out of tax increment.
Okay. Thank you. We had Mr. Gonzalez. Did you want to...
Yes, I would like to, my concern is we use the property tax money to cover this RDA expenses. In we as a city, we have the highest administration costs, the highest percentage administration costs. We have 87% cost of administration in Calexico. We are the highest cost in the whole California. So for me, to make a decision to support this urban future company. I believe we need to reorganize first as a city, how can we are going to spend the money, definitely, because with this company, we are going to spend $100,000, right? Also, there is another $300,000 more. So we're talking about $400,000. So in this occasion, I not agree to spend more money. We need to pay attention. Definitely, we need to pay attention in our expenses. That's my concern. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Gonzalez, you got a new car, huh? You got a new car. Well, you can stand up.
I wish I did.
Oh.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Oscar Gonzalez Hernandez, Calexico. I just briefly want to speak against it. I think Mr. Urban Futures wishes to spend money that we don't have right now. And I think Urban Future approximately the corporation has earned over $180 million since the inception, and maybe more, and that's a conservative estimate. They don't do anything for free. And I'm really speaking against it because when I saw the state audit, and Mr. Castro just cited one example of many, what they did, they selected 18 cities from California, and Calexico was the worst in terms of salaries. LA had 13,000. Other big cities didn't spend as much as we did. So that's an indictment to me on Mr. Urban Futures, because they have been our consultants. And we're not dumb. We've been naive. I think previous councils have been naive because none of us knew what redevelopment was all about. So when he came, it kind of reminded me, the white man is coming to the reservation so that we can be led. And city council after city council fell for that, especially the previous one. And when you do that, gentlemen, you have to question that. That gentleman, when he first came, he was young. He's still here because he has been selling people a bill of goods. He's a millionaire. And he's supposed to be a millionaire because we're so naive and we keep funding him. I think it wouldn't have been bad. There's nothing, since we live under capitalism, if somebody gets rich, hey, that's part of our system, our economic system. But when I get a state audit, and all the council read it, I don't think he deserves a second chance. You know, in conclusion, Joe Torre from the LA Dodgers skipper took the Yankees many years, made them champions, world champions. He left. Bobby Knight, Woody Hayes, great coaches. But there comes a time, I think, for anybody, no city manager has lasted 2 to 3 years, except he wasn't a city manager, Mr. Emerson, he was a clerk, and Jim Black was not a city manager, he was a clerk, but they acted as a city. They didn't have college degrees. The one we just fired did have a college degree and probably had a master's, but that's not the point. The point is that I think the time has come when we have to really look at and I like what you said, Mr. Rodriguez. If we decide not to use them, fine, let's do that. I like your idea. Let's decide not to use them. Mr. Rodriguez, you've been a redevelopment director many years. I think this gentleman is competent. I think this guy can take us out of the woods. He's got experience. And if he doesn't have it, let's hire a consultant that's cheaper. I think Oscar can do the work. I respect Oscar, and I'm glad he's sitting at that podium right now. God, if he can't get us out of this mess, well, maybe he shouldn't even be the interim city man. But I think he can do it. We have decided to hire this gentleman, and I think we ought to give him a break. Let's give him the ball, let him pitch. I think he can do it. We don't need somebody else. All the in conclusion, all the plans, be as it may, including the beautiful document that I saw that you guys have, that was provided. The 5-year plan was submitted by Mr. Urban Futures. We can use that. We paid for that. We've got everything at our disposal. Mr. Rodriguez is the man I think can take us out of and take us into the promised land.
Thank you. Point well taken. Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll bring it back. If this motion or resolution does not get approved tonight, what is the next step? What are we facing?
Well, depending on what the legislature does tomorrow, if they vote to eliminate RDAs, then there'll be a phasing out period. And so then the oversight committee would take over. And
the oversight committee meaning from the state?
The oversight committee that's formed under the legislation, which has 6 members, of which the city only represents 1 member.
Okay.
So obviously, we do not have the majority of the votes. We would have to argue before that oversight committee that we need whoever the consultant is to help us to phase out. We can no longer make the argument that we already have a contract in place and therefore it has to be paid out of RDA. So that's what we were trying to address.
Okay. And so that would make the process a little more cumbersome, or what, I mean...
It would just be, the concern would be that then we would have to take the money out of the general fund, which we do not have.
Oh, I see. And the phasing out would still, and your gut feeling with the legislature is that it's going to be phased out?
If the governor put it on, he only needs a majority vote for the budget, he probably has his votes.
And it's a Democratic state Congress?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Anybody want to call for the question?
You mean the motion?
I mean, okay, call the motion.
I will motion, and I want to use Mr. Gonzalez's phrase about that Mr. Rodriguez is an excellent player to get us through this thing, but at the same time, excellent players also need excellent coaches, and I will motion for the approval of this motion on the condition that it only be for 1 year.
Or maybe even less.
Whatever.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor?
Let me clarify this.
Yeah, go ahead, clarify.
Let me clarify this. So you're talking about the same company, Urban Future, or someone else?
This agreement, I'm approving it for only for 1 year. Like I said a little while ago, this is the time that the city needs this consultant more than ever. Oscar needs this support now more than ever.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? I will second. Call for the question. Please vote. Motion carries 3-2. Item number 9. Approve an extension of the exclusive negotiating agreement with IVAL related to the property located at 210 Sheridan. And I believe, Mr. Romero, you had that item pulled. Did you want some backup information first?
No, I'm familiar with this project and also the issue with the site. But I'll retract that. City Manager, you want to add something before I continue?
No, there's only just one correction on the staff report where it says discussion. The agreement was actually entered into May 5th, 2009. If you recall, it is a 2-year agreement with 1 year with option for another year. So the agreement actually expires May 5th. What we're recommending is a 90-day to get a commitment in place if we're going to move forward with this. The proponents have stated that they believe that they can get the financing in place within less than 90 days. So the agreement is crafted so that they have a 90-day extension, and if they do not get the commitment even before the 90 days, then it automatically expires and we get the property back to do what we want.
Okay. Did you say there was an error on the discussion part of the agenda?
2009. May 5th, 2009.
I'm sorry,
Actually, 2009.
okay, 2000, okay, with that correction, okay? Any questions or discussion on this item?
Yes, what needs to be known is that this, what you call him, proponent?
Yes.
This proponent has had this site for already 2 years. So it's not something that we're given in 3 months to do something with it. They've already had it for 2 years, and they're going to be given an additional 3 months. One of the things that they were supposed to show last year is that they have had some success with their project through whatever agency to make it a viable program or a viable option to renew it for another year. It was renewed for another year, and now the group is before the council to have it for another additional 3 months. If they do not, then I guess it will be automatically terminated.
It will automatically terminate, yes.
And anyway, that's just one of the things that I want to say is that I don't want the public to get the feeling that they've only had it for the next 3 months. And in that regard, I'll motion for its approval.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to approve item number 9. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hodge. Please vote. Five oh, item passes. Okay, item number 10, authorization of city manager and city attorney to proceed with preparing necessary documentation and information to implement the proposed organizational reorganization.
This item has been kind of talked about for a while, and I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but basically what we have right now is a horizontal organizational chart, which means if you look at, and by the way, correction is that the exhibits are turned around. Actually, Exhibit A should be Exhibit B, and Exhibit B should be Exhibit A. Yeah. If you look at the Exhibit A, which is the first one, that is actually says Exhibit B, but it's Exhibit A. That's your horizontal organization or organizational chart. That's what we currently have. And the problem with that is that I believe there's 11 different departments that the city manager is responsible for. And that makes it very, very difficult to be able to control what's going on, number one. Number two, it provides for inflexibility between the departments in that moving personnel around within their particular positions is very difficult. Where if you have these departments in one, then a laborer is a laborer. So if you need a laborer at the parks, or if you need a laborer in recreation, or whatever it is, you have the ability to utilize it as best that you see fit as a department head to get the job done. Right now, we have some parameters that they're within their particular department, so it's very hard to use them where you need them. So it provides for the new reorganization that I'm proposing is that we collapse these 11 departments or so-called departments or management team members into basically 5 departments. Which makes it a lot easier to be able to work with and to be able to provide direction to and provide leadership to. What it also does, it also provides these department heads with the ability to run their departments and utilize the staff properly and be able to utilize them where they need to be utilized. Along with that responsibility and the ability to make these decisions, obviously the other side of the ledger is that it also provides for accountability. And I think if there's one thing that we need to constantly be looking at is accountability. Okay, we give you the responsibility, we give you the power, we give you the financing to do what you need to do to provide that service level within those departments, but the other side of the coin is we also hold you accountable. And so if you do not deliver the service levels that's being requested by the policymakers, then obviously there's consequences for that. So it allows for flexibility, it provides for training, it provides for cross-training, it provides for utilization of staff in a more effective and efficient way, but it also holds these department heads accountable. So what we're asking tonight is your approval to move forward There's a lot more work to be done. We will be bringing back documentation to you and further approvals. So this is only the first step and 3 steps that I mentioned to you. After we get the organization in place in reference to the management team, making it more effective and efficient, then we collapse these positions into these 5 department heads, and then we're going, step 2 will be to look at these positions to find out if in fact we still need these positions. And then the third step would be to, once the new organization is in place, to look at the salary schedules to make sure that they represent what the responsibilities are of the different positions.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Does anybody have any comments or concerns about the table of organization?
No, it says recommendations.
Okay, I applaud you for bringing this up to our attention, and this looks like it's a more efficient, manageable system, if you will, and hopefully it saves the city some money. I guess that's the bottom line. Is there action need to be taken on this? Yes.
Yes, if there's a motion by the council just to authorize what the recommendation says. So
Okay.
it'd just be authorizing us to move forward
All right.
to implement the next steps.
So is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
So moved by Hurtado, seconded by Romero. Please vote. Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Item 11. We have the informational item, reroute Wednesday's solid waste, green and recyclable waste curbside service to Tuesday, effective the week of April 4th, 2011. That's in a couple of weeks. And this is through our waste provider, which is Allied Waste. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so from what I gather, it's moving trash pickup for everyone on Tuesday.
Mondays and Tuesdays instead of Mondays and Wednesdays.
Oh, okay, Mondays and Tuesdays. Okay, and
We've also run it through staff, and they have no problems with it. In fact, we think it'll help us.
so they live north of 98, it would be Tuesday. And they live south of 98, it'd be Monday.
Yes. And there will be informational materials going out to everybody, so everybody's aware of what's happening.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? We have Allied Waste here that,
As long as I get my trash picked up.
Where are they?
can you give us a quick background on this, Mr. Araujo?
I'd be happy to. Honorable Mayor, City Council members and staff, possible we'd like to request that Wednesday, the Wednesday pickup day, be changed to Tuesday for one reason alone. And that's for better service and a stronger commitment to the residents of Calexico. Allied Waste has learned through suggestions, conversations with residents, requests, and phone calls on how to better our service. This is one way on how to better our service. We're constantly looking for better ways of service to residents. We believe this is a move towards that. By changing to a Monday, Tuesday schedule, we now have a 2-day window where residents don't need to wait for an additional 24 hours to get serviced. So basically, we're in the city 2 days. If anybody from a Monday service needs anything, we're already there the next day. They don't have to wait till Wednesday. In the end, like I said, it's all about providing better service. We will commit to performing all the community outreach to the residents, informing them of the date change. We will go house to house, deliver materials on the street sweeper change, on the date change, on recycling, on the bulky pickup, on the landfill passes, and any other information that council may request us to do so. We've done this in the past. It's been flawless, smooth. We'll have trucks in the area for the next few days, just in case anybody didn't get the message, and we'll pick them up right away. So we don't expect any glitches. Like I said, we've done it before, and it's been perfect.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Araujo? Yes.
The item here says north of 98 and west of Cloak.
Correct.
So you're talking about where Navarro is? The
Yes.
northwest corner of the city?
Correct.
So everything east, all the way to Andrade and beyond, is still Wednesday?
That stays the same. Whoever's on Monday will not be affected by this.
All right,
It's just
thank you.
less than half of the community.
So who's ever on Wednesday will be on Tuesday?
Correct.
Who's on first?
Who's on second?
I don't know, third base. No, just kidding. Okay, so just Mondays and Tuesdays.
Mondays and Tuesdays, we'll be in the city 2 days. We'll fulfill requests those 2 days, and then
Okay, very good. Any questions?
But who is on first?
Okay.
thank you.
Ms. Torres, did you have a comment on this? Please come up. Or we can get you a portable mic.
Okay, before the rumors get started, I'm not running for city council, okay? But this item, when the agenda was sent to me by my number one councilman, I noticed on the change, and I hear Mr. Araujo saying that I guess they got the opinion of the residents or something, or maybe I misunderstood, but I live on 46 Las Flores, and it was the first time I heard about it. I did contact some of my neighbors, at least 6 of them, and then the ones on Palm Drive, and they were not aware of it. The city used to pick up the garbage twice during the week. And just the idea that they're changing things without letting the residents know. I wish we could go back to 2 days a week, because in the summertime, the garbage, the worms, it's bad. So that's, at least let us know before they bring it up to you guys, because otherwise I'm misunderstanding what Mr. Araujo is saying.
Okay.
Okay, just to let us know. And then, so we can know when to take out the garbage can and not have to take it on Wednesday and find out that it came, on Tuesday.
For what he mentioned a little while ago, your neighborhood is not affected, is not impacted.
Yes, I'm being changed to Tuesday.
She's north of 98.
She's north, but east of Cloak.
Well, there's everybody's else is east of Cloak.
The only area that he mentioned was the northwest of Calexico, that's Navarro.
No. North of 98 and everything east of Cloak.
That will be affected homes.
No.
98 and west
on
of
first?
Cloak.
Okay.
It says here west of Cloak.
Yeah, because we have our garbage picked up on Wednesday, and from what I understand, now it's going to be Tuesday.
I think most of us are visual. We need to see a map. Where's the map?
West or east? Are you watching your San Francisco Giants play?
Just one more thing, just my opinion, personal opinion. No offense. Is, they wine and dine us when they're trying to get the contract. And then they forget about us once that happens. And I know that Allied Waste has been very good to the community. They've donated to several of our events. And also, when I was disabled, the trash man became aware of it, and he made it a point to write down, that's a service you did not put down. They went and took out my garbage cans and put them back.
Wow.
So that's very nice of them to be thinking about the disabled. So that's just it.
So who's getting wined and dined? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Torres, for your comments. Very appreciative. West of Cloak.
That's Navarro.
Okay, I thought it was east of Cloak.
Is that correct,
But
Mr. Araujo, otra vez? Sorry? North, east, northwest
There's-
of Calexico only.
there's not much west of Cloak, but north of 98.
There's a little pocket of homes.
Yeah.
That's right.
But, okay.
It's not
You're
many homes,
reading
but-
it as east, which includes all the way through Andrade, it says west. So it's just like he said, just a block, a few homes.
So everybody on this side is going to stay the same on Wednesday?
That's what he said.
Yeah, it's rainbow.
Okay.
It's rainbow.
That's what I was trying to.
And like
Okay.
I said, we'll go house to house, and we will hand deliver information to each resident.
But you said that you're going to pick up trash 2 days a week, Mondays and Tuesdays.
Well, everybody gets once a week.
I'm sorry, once a week, Once a week, Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yes, but we're twice a week, but residents get once a week service.
Right.
Her,
My trash gets picked up on Wednesday.
Yes.
Is it still going to be picked up on Wednesday?
I don't know where you live.
I live on the very east side.
That should be on Tuesday.
See, so that it's changing.
east of Calexico.
That's what I'm saying. It's east of,
Who's on first?
I'll work with you too. I'll be at your house. handing
because
you
that's,
the flyer.
I did speak with one of your reps, and they says, yeah, it's going to be, where you live, it's going to be Tuesday. Move to Tuesday, because I live east of Cloak
East of Cloak.
Mr. Estrada, what you do?
and north of 98.
Please, let's get a map.
Stay the same.
It should stay the same, so it'd be Wednesday.
West of Polk.
So you'd be going 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right?
Monday and Tuesday.
Just 1 day a week.
So everybody who has Wednesday now, that's what I want to hear. Okay? You should have said that at the beginning. If you get your trash picked up on Tuesday?
He did.
He did?
He did.
Why don't we just,
But then there was a question of direction, west or east of Cloak.
Can you,
All right.
You'll get some information at home.
I think we've got it. Now we got to do is outreach to the community, correct?
Yes, there's a requirement under the
Thank you,
contract.
Mr. Araujo.
Thank you.
There's a requirement under the contract
Right.
that they provide the materials and so on, and we met
Okay.
with them, and they're going to do that.
that was good.
We're all concerned about recycling, Mr. Hodge. All right, so does this need an action? Yes.
Acknowledged.
Acknowledged, recommended to review the following. Okay. Reviewed, well taken. Item number 12. And this is the informational item, accept the investment report as of February 28, 2011. And this is Mr. Rodriguez. Could you elaborate on this, please?
Well, this is just, I believe, your monthly report that tells you how the monies are being invested. In fact, we have a meeting tomorrow at 8:30? 8:30? 9:30. Okay, 9:30, where we'll be reviewing again where the investments are being placed, why they're being placed, and should we be trying, what do we need to do to try to get the best interest rate for the city?
Any questions? Acknowledge receipt, item 13. This is the acknowledge the overtime report for pay period ending 2011. And Mr. Hodge, or anybody would like to start? I know there's some questions out there.
I do not.
Mr. Castro?
Yes. On this payroll report over time, I want to make clear on this over time. We're talking about pay period ending February 8th to 11. I want to make sure it is I make some notes here, and it's almost $400,000 overtime expenses. Who?
Where's that?
I'm talking about public safety.
On public
Overtime
safety,
report.
that's a budgeted amount, $400,000.
It's the budget.
That's
That's what's budgeted for the year.
okay. So
So in that pay period, we didn't have any overtime incurred because our overtime is paid at the end of the 28-day cycle. So that's why some pay periods you won't have any overtime paid, and then when that end of the 28-day cycle occurs, you have that large 30-day sum of overtime paid. Before, it used to be broken down every 2 weeks. Now it's broken down at the end of the 28-day cycle.
so it's almost $400,000, right?
That's what we have budgeted.
Yeah, but my question is, how much you guys pay over time?
For this, for pay period,
Because
and
that's is budgeted. Right here says total for policy fund is we are talking about. That's what?
for pay period,
Those are the earnings.
pay period 16,
So you didn't have any overtime?
we didn't have any overtime paid.
And there's 149,000 left for the year to
Correct.
get us through June 30.
Yes.
Is that enough?
No.
Where do you get that number?
Right here, 149,133 year-to-date remaining budget balance. That's not enough to get us through the year.
No, because if you look on the next pay period, which is 17, we spent 37,000 on overtime. So that balance now is 98 for approximately,
108.
correct.
So it's not 149,000, it's 108,000.
No, now it's 98.
The remaining balance at the end of pay period 17 is 98,977.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's on the next page.
And that's for 4 months. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, but look, let me explain to him first, and
Okay.
then I go after you, right? Okay, we have 259 remaining balance, right?
Aquí, ajá.
If you take away 259 to the final budget, how much is it?
No, es lo que queda. Han gastado una diferencia. Esto es el policía, esto es el fire. Ese es el budget. Aquí nomás están gastando esto. En este otro, donde tú estás viendo, lo que quiero que son, aquí están gastando 37,000 por este periodo. Y ahorita, es lo que quiero ir allá. Los 400,000, casi me he gastado 300,000 dólares. Y faltan.
We're having a tutoring session here. Thank you, Mr. Romero, for sharing.
Thank you.
But you won't have enough.
So what's the plan, Mr. Rodriguez?
The plan is they're going to find it somewhere else.
Measure H?
No, we're going to look at adjustments throughout the budget, throughout the rest of his budget.
Okay.
And as I said earlier, this is where we give department heads flexibility to stay within their budgets. They may go over one item, but they have to make it up in other items.
Okay. And, okay, so there is a plan in place, and you feel comfortable with the plan, Chief Mercado? Honestly?
No.
Okay.
We're gonna slide in. We're gonna slide into home and hopefully catcher drops the ball. But realistically, it's gonna be very tight.
Who's the cutoff man?
No idea. It's gonna be extremely tight. It's gonna take some serious juggling and working a lot of numbers and hoping for a lot of good things to go right for us. That's basically what it is.
And the concept of, one of your recommendations was to perhaps get more personnel, but that's out of the question? That would save money, or?
No, actually, in reference to more personnel, we're looking at some options available to us. There is I believe it's a federal grant, right?
Yes.
That talks about being able to move your staffing up so that you can try to stay as close to the national standards as possible. Now, sometimes that isn't possible. But we're looking at the possibility of picking up an additional 4 positions. There's some requirements in the grant, which we will bring back to you, but basically the bottom line in the grant is we'll pay you for your first 2 years, and your 3rd year you have to pay it. That's not necessarily bad. We're looking at that now. I've done this in other organizations. We're going to be looking at a cost-benefit analysis of what is the savings if we hire this, if we take the money and provide these additional positions, what is the cost savings for us? And if we can show that over the 2 years where we pay nothing, we save enough to be able to basically pay the 3rd year, then your cost-benefit analysis is positive. So we're looking at that now. It just makes sense because every time that we're understaffed on the manning requirement, we're having to call people in on overtime. Not only are we picking up overtime, but these people are getting fatigued, and then that comes into the whole issue of a workman's comp and all the other issues.
And I did read your extensive report. That is
Correct.
very
And
enlightening.
I've been corresponding with the city manager regarding a plan and coming back. Like I said, there was a grant that we applied for last minute. We did receive a favorable review for these 4 positions. If you recall, back in August, I proposed the hopefully retirement of those 3 firefighters or fire captains and hiring 4 in reserve. As soon as that occurred, that hasn't happened, and luckily hopefully this grant can find that funding for us for the first 2 years. But we're working together, and hopefully we can pencil it all out and come back to you with a concrete plan to make it work. So
is this a federal grant? Can you give us the name?
it is the Assistance to Firefighters Grant, and the actual grant is the SAFER. It stands for Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response.
So that has been applied for. Has that been granted?
It has been received, or we received a favorable review, which means that we have to fill out a questionnaire and kind of obligate ourselves to continuing for successful consideration.
Okay.
So what we'll do is, like I said, we're finishing off our cost-benefit analysis. If that shows positive, we will be back to you for authorization to move forward with it.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you, Chief Mercado. Any questions?
No, I just want to comment that I think the bottom line is to save for the city is that we need to have more personnel. So we need to keep this in front of us and aggressively pursue it in any multiple avenues that we can. Not forget that. I understand your frustration, and to me, I agree with you. The answer is more personnel. More personnel will equate to a lot lower amount of overtime, and that will, in the long run, be more cost-effective.
And not to belabor the point, but I think when we look at these issues, we've got to look at issues that are related to it, such as in firefighting and safety officers and whatever. We've got to look at the safety issue too. We've got to look at that impacts the ability to keep your premiums down for comp. I bet you if I looked at the comp report right now, most of it is going to be safety. So you can hopefully bring down your incident rate. By doing that, you bring down your premiums, which affects your budget, whether it be comp, whether it be general liability. I mean, it impacts the whole organization. So we've got to look more than just the overtime, and that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you, Chief Mercado. And at this point, we will acknowledge receipt of the overtime report for February 2011. Moving on to item number 14, which is the acknowledged receipt of the Department Overtime Justification Reports for February 2011. Any questions or any concerns? This is a very good report.
No.
Am I right? Any questions on this side? Nope.
Yes, I have a question. On page 203, yeah, 14. Overtime, right? It's justification overtime.
I'm sorry, what page?
14, right?
14? There's no 14.
No, it was,
Are we in 14?
no, we are on, yeah, we're on 14.
We're on 14, so there's no page 14.
You said page 2 of 3.
There's only three pages.
The page, I'm talking about page 2 of 3.
Okay.
Okay, justification.
Oh, you said 203, okay, 203, okay.
2 of 3.
Okay, page 2 of 3.
Not 2 of 3.
Not 203.
Thank you for correcting. Okay, on February 5th, we replaced an operator on furlough, and we paid $454.68 on that day. And the next day, we paid the same amount. And also, in 218, we paid the same amount. I mean, how could that be? I mean, we paid the same amount. That's my question. Why?
It's a 12 hours that we, on furlough, we have to bring somebody back to work the 12 hours if it's on like a Friday off, or Saturday and Sunday. And that's what the operators make, and that's 12 hours overtime.
Yes, but you can control that, right? That's what you mean.
No.
The city needs to pay for almost $400 for 12 hours.
Yes. There's no control.
No control of that.
You need a warm body there to take care of that, right?
Yes.
Okay, also replace. Yeah, that's the three question I have, because it's the same amount.
Right.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, the only time that it would change is, for example, if it was during the week, we do have an extra operator, but that's only from Monday to Thursday. If the operator calls in that wants to take a Wednesday furlough, well, it's only going to cost us 3 hours, just the difference, 3 hours, from 9 to 12.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Castro. Any questions for Mr. Estrada? Seeing that there is none, we'll acknowledge receipt of item number 14 and move on to item number 15. Acknowledge receipt for the financial report for the month of February of 2011. And again, from the narrative and information that Ms. Hashem has provided, it seems that we're still pretty much doing pretty good, right? Mr. Rodriguez?
Well, we're hoping to be on target, let's put it that way. I wish we were doing better, but we're hoping to be on target.
Okay. Okay. Any questions? Mr. Hodge?
On page 2, parking facilities exceeded their, on expenditures, exceeded their overall budget by 10%, but the police chief has provided assurance that this division will not go over total budget of $328,644. What are we going to do there so that you assure us? Give us the good word.
Who's Chief's here? I'll let him answer.
Councilman Hodge, there is no good word. We're going to be reducing the department by 50%. So, yes, it will come in at budget, but that's the only way, because that's all there is in that budget category is salaries.
By reduction. Okay.
But after the traffic, after the seasonal traffic period.
Oh, I see. That's right. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
To my right, questions? No?
No, just again, thank you for keeping separate the general fund, enterprise, and redevelopment.
Okay, moving item. God, surprising we've got a different change here. Okay, we've got the authorization of city direct. Okay, hold on. Go back. Consent, is that a consent?
Enterprise consent.
Let's see. Enterprise fund departments. Authorized, there's 16 and 17 has been pulled.
Well, 17 was pulled.
Yes. And item 16 is a consent calendar for enterprise fund department. Do we have a motion for approving that item?
You do?
Moved by Mr. Romero. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hodge. Any questions? Call for the vote. Please vote. And 5-0. Very good. And now we go to future agenda items. We'll start over here to my immediate left with Ms. Councilwoman Hurtado.
None today.
Mr. Hodge.
Not for me.
I'm going to have a heart attack. Just kidding.
Try again. Don't try again.
Sorry. Mr. Castro.
Yes, I would like to put in for the next council meeting in the agenda. Already asked for to look for the business license and also the way the city is find the business. I'd like to know more about that because I remember that around 6 months ago we contract a company so they can study. We call that a maximum study about business and find and everything regarding the business here in Calexico. We told to most of the people who came to this council meeting that on that time that we need to work and reduce some percentage of that cost. I think the maximum study that we did on that time is it is too much. On that time, we decide yes, and we increase more than 100% on that. So I believe we need to come back and talk about that issue. I'm not in favor to continue with that that amount that the city of Calexico is charging to each business. So I want to put that in the agenda. Already asked for that. This is going to be the second time. I hope, City Manager, can you help us on that?
Yes, as we've spoken before, we have planned to put this on the next agenda. There'll be a comparison of sample of licenses throughout the valley as to what the other valley cities are charging. We will also we have started to look at the issue of the penalty. The thing that came up this last year was a penalty fee for the fire. We've looked at different options. We will be presenting an option on that. It always helps if you do a universal, as much as you can, standardize what the penalties are. So we've talked about possibly doing a 10%, as we have for the license itself. If you don't pay, then there's a 10% penalty, and it goes for 5 months, I think. And then after that, then we take whatever action we need to take. If you standardize them so that everybody knows that the penalty on everything is going to be 10%, then it makes it a lot easier. And that way people don't have to say, well, was it 10% on this one, but 200 on this one, and, you know. So we're looking at doing that. Obviously, that would impact our budget, but I think the bigger issue is going to be in your discussions whether or not you want to take 100% of the Maximus study, or do you want to take 60% of the Maximus study. As you know, right now, fire is taking 100%, and I believe the rest of it is taking 75%. Can somebody help me out with that? I think it's something like that. That doesn't mean you have to take those percentages off your study. Your study just simply documents that you have the ability and can back up going to 100%. If you so desire to only take 50% of that study, then so be it. We can do that. Obviously, every time we take less than what we're charging now, that's going to impact our budget for next year. But you're certainly within your rights to do that. So we're going to bring that back to you, and we'll give you an idea as to what everybody else is charging, and then you can make that decision.
And piggyback on what Mr. Castro said regarding the business license, I recall speaking to one of the council members that perhaps maybe an installment plan, maybe something that we may want to entertain.
Well, this year,
with incentives, though, with incentives.
Yeah, this year we went ahead and did some. I know I personally must have talked to 6 or 7 people, and they understood that they had a violation, that they were in the penalty phase. They understood that. Their biggest concern was the amount. And I think it's reasonable to look at that. I think we need to look at that, so we'll bring that back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And also, you mentioned, I like the idea that you are going to comparison with other cities. So that's one of the best options that we need to work on that, because I mean I know this is Calexico, but we need to work with the business owners. We need to help them, because right now we're living in a fiscal crisis, and I believe that we need to work on that. Definitely, no doubt about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castro. Mr. Romero.
In regarding also with the business license fees, there's an issue. You used the word penalties.
Penalty, yeah.
Right. Maybe some of that stuff could be used instead of financing charges, where you don't necessarily hit a penalty for being late. Maybe if you can't pay it in 1 month or 2 months, you use a 10% concept, and on a monthly basis, you'll pay the 10%. And you'll save on the 10% fee, the financing fee, if you can pay it before.
And I think the issue is we want people to pay. It doesn't do any good if we have penalties or whatever we want to call them. They're not paying, and so we can't get the money into our city coffers and therefore invest it or use it for whatever we need. So we want to encourage people to pay.
Yes, but in small business, more so in small business, they might be able to pay some this month, some next month, and some the following month. But yet, right now, they're going to get hit, as you said right now, as a penalty for being late. But if they are able to maybe separate it over 4 months or 5 months, and it's not a penalty, it's just a finance.
And the issue, and I won't belabor the point, but you can certainly see where if you're late one day, you get hit with $250, where if the fire fee is $160 whatever, it's 10% is $16. quite a difference. So I think there's some reasonable arguments for that, so we'll look at that.
I'd like the status on the $28 million that was set aside from the federal government that went to the state government for our infrastructure improvements at the water treatment plant. I know that Barbara Boxer had spoken that the money had been sent. Could you give us an update as to what the status of that is?
Well, we're following up on that, and we just got some documentation today. I'm hoping that says they're going to release the money. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but we're following up this week. We're going to make some calls if we haven't, if we don't have an actual date when they're going to deliver. We'll make calls and certainly use her office because we were all there when she said that.
Right, the money
it's
had
really
been
up to the state. So we'll try to push it along as much as we can and get that money down here.
Okay.
Can I say something? Mr. Rodriguez, I had spoke with you in the office, and there were several items that we agreed that we would be moving along. That's why I didn't want to request, but one of them was the business license, so I strongly support Councilman Castro taking the lead on this, because I do believe that we need to create a climate where we create incentives for businesses, and I think that they're overburdened financially.
I agree with you 100%.
Installment plan is a good idea. I mean, we're being hard on them. We really are. And I think the comparable study will hopefully show that. And I'm beginning to understand that we don't have to abide by that Maximus plan. Now, maybe not for the next future agenda, or if we could, or I communicate it to you, and if it can't be done in 2 weeks, we can move it along. But another related area that had been mentioned by me and some others was developer fees. How many we have outstanding, what's the cost, how much we've lost there, how do we account for that, how do we keep track of that, what are we not doing properly to make that happen in a better way, and which ones we've waived. So that's also related.
I think overall what we need to look at is trying to be business friendly. How do we do that? We just don't want to talk about it. We want people to recognize us as being business friendly. And that doesn't mean that you lower all your fees. That doesn't mean that. It just means that people feel comfortable coming and talking to us about being able to do business in our community. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to change the attitude, the whole community as a whole, so that people look at us that way. And that becomes our image. The good old saying about, or the image about the CHP giving you a ticket and you feel good about it even though you just got a ticket. That's what we got to do. We got to change the attitude.
Here is a concern that's been communicated to me among some business people and citizens, that our whole system is not fair. And so when we move towards standardization and we improve upon it,
Did he say he had nothing to say?
It might not be amount of
Didn't he
how
say he had
much,
nothing to say?
but I think we need to be fair. Just like kids in the classroom. Just like kids in the classroom. Rules have to apply to everyone.
We're adjourned. Thank you.